So what we want to do in this video is take a look at how to take the general conic form that we mentioned in our last video and work this thing backwards to create our standard form. And the reason for that is general conic form, what we were given here, this does not tell me what my center and radius end up being. We can kind of make some guesses as far as what the center would be, but we still have to do a little bit of work to find the radius. And so what I want to do is go ahead and think about a method called completing the square. I kind of spoiled that already up here. What we know is that we want to get something in the form of x plus h squared, or sorry, x minus h squared, plus y minus k squared equals r squared. We want perfect square binomials to show up in the problem, and in order for that to happen, we need to have some sort of squared constant term that goes really nicely with these middle terms that we created. So I mentioned in the last video that these numbers are going to be double our target goals, basically. And what I mean by that is when I look up here, let's rearrange this a little bit. Let's put the 14x with the x squared, and let's put the negative 20y with our y squared. And this 133, we're going to acknowledge the fact that that's actually kind of a waste of space. We're going to bring it to the other side of the equation. So I subtracted that from both sides just to kind of get it out of the way for a minute. We saw in the last video, and we can tell from the standard form here, that if we were to square a binomial, we would end up with 3 terms instead of 2. So we're going to have to kind of figure out what would be here. Well, we got the 14 by doubling the product of these guys originally. And then we got this number by squaring whatever this number was. To find this mysterious number, all you have to do is take half of this coefficient here and square it. Half of 14 is 7. If you square that, you get 49. So let's do the same thing here. Half of negative 20 would be negative 10, but when you square it, you get a positive 100. And I'll note that these two numbers will always be positive because we are always squaring numbers here. So these numbers are positive. And so from here we go, okay, well, I'm not allowed to just throw these numbers in here. I can't just add 49 and 100 for fun. I can't just throw it into the problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 49 and 100 to this side as well. As long as I do this to both sides of the equation, if I add the 49 to both sides, if I add the 100 to both sides, then I'm okay to do what I'm doing here. Now, hopefully you can tell the negative 100, the positive 100 would cancel out. And then 49 minus the 33, this side of the equation is going to give me a nice clean 16. And I say clean because that's a perfect square. That means it's going to be easy to get a clean radius here. Whenever we had this form, whatever the half of that middle term was, so like here the 14, so the half of that was positive 7, that was what the minus h part ended up being. This whole piece here is just going to be x plus 7, and we're going to square it. And then this part, half of negative 20, is negative 10. So we're going to get y minus 10 squared. This is our standard form. We have x plus 7 squared, we have y minus 10 squared, we have 16. Our center, if you remember from the previous videos, is going to be the opposite signs of these guys, so negative 7 and positive 10. And our radius is going to just be the square root of 16, which is 4. So ultimately the process is actually pretty straightforward. We take all of our terms here, we rearrange them, we move the constant term to get it out of the way, we pair up our x's, we pair up our y's, take half and square it, so half of 14 squared was 49, half of this negative 20 squared gave me 100. I remember the balancing of equations. I make sure to add those two values to both sides. And then it's just a matter of returning these to their binomial forms. So whatever half number you had earlier, half of 14 was the 7, half of the 20 was this negative 10, and then that's it. You're done. So if you like that, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here. If you're still a little uncomfortable, I'm going to actually go ahead and do another of these in a follow-up video so you can kind of have them separated. So if you don't want to see another one, you don't have to. So stay tuned for that.